Hello everybody. In today's video, what I'll be breaking down is the step-by-step capital efficient protocol for D2C Ecom founders who are looking to reach capital efficiency and overall look to scale. But on top of that, profitably exit in the next 2 to 3 years without running out of money in a market of high churn rates, rising new customer acquisition costs, and doing this completely bootstrapped without relying on VC funding, without relying on outside marketing agencies, right? So in this system, this protocol I built out, we're going to cover capital efficient acquisition systems, cross up and downselling customer retention strategies, remote commission only marketing team to ultimately build in-house. We're going to talk about the system that I've built out to produce a minimum 90 plus testable assets in a given month. And this is all in-house without relying on marketing agencies. So before I dive into this, who am I? Why should you listen to me? So my name is Chris Hernandez. I'm the founder of ScaleVelocity.io. I worked with numerous D2C Ecom founders from a done for you perspective, where me and my team, a lean boutique team, handled over around 500K a month in ad spend. We would come in, we would analyze the whole entire ad accounts, we would validate the access channels, we would also build out creatives, and then more so analyze that and run to scale that business. Now, we've worked with a couple of companies, and on my website, we have the case studies laid out. We worked with clients like Time, Warren, Grip6, Vital Sleep, SoulCeuticals, Walk Eyes, Pamute, and many more. Those are just what I can name off the top of my head so far. But more so, I was able to take my learnings and my foundation client to client, and I was able to produce it here into this document. And in this document, this is going to really lay out just the foundation that no matter your position, let's say you're a founder and you're at anywhere from 50K to 100K a month and you're trying to scale to multiple six figures, multiple seven figures a month, right? This protocol is going to get you to capital efficiency so that you can take this roadmap and apply it for your business to not only stop relying on outside agencies, but on top of that, give you the roadmap so that you can build in-house so that let's say you want to exit your company in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Well, then you have the systems and procedures to do that. So with that being said, let's just dive a bit deeper. Now, the common scenario is pretty simple. Rising customer acquisition costs. With a market where D2C consumer brands are being super, super competitive, there's a lot of people in the space that have grown since 2020 that are leading the way of advertising through Facebook, YouTube, Google, SEO, TikTok, right? Brands and retailers advertising online from paid social media platforms have seen an increase on an average of 27% rise in customer acquisition costs year over year and 222% rise from the last 8 years. So an average merchant saw a net loss of over $29 to acquire a customer in 2022. Now, I'll link this white paper here where you can go in and click the links to validate all these documents. I have all these data points laid out. Now, with the US GDP growth in 2022 falling down to 1.9% year over year, and expected growth in 2020 is expected to hit 0%. And we also have the Federal Reserve raising interest rates by 4.5% quarter after quarter. We have the rise from initial customer acquisition costs and longer sales cycles, which will significantly stunt most D2C brands' growth in 2023 from previous patterns. All in all, what this means is simply put that the challenge today has become much more expensive while data attribution tracking is losing its effectiveness since iOS 14.5 updates. So now when it comes to gathering data to find our initial customer profile, the acquisition cost is significantly higher. We have advertisers filling up the space, making it more crowded. So what happens is, well, then the cost to acquire customers is just higher due to competition. And we also have the buying behavior decreasing because we have the Federal Reserve raising interest rates. So now D2C Ecom profitability decreases. I mean, the barrier to entry for direct competitors to advertise online and capture market share of a specific audience fails to exist. This is what leads to competition for many D2C brands struggling to scale profitability. In common industries such as beauty and cosmetic, fashion, apparel, brands in the supplement market to acquire profitable CAC. So now, due to the rise of initial CAC on common platforms like Meta, Instagram, the majority of these brands in these highly competitive industries tend to see a 1-to-1 ratio from a total ad spend to return on ad spend in regards to complete purchase value. A deficit is present as the cost of goods to fulfill that single order on a 1-to-1 ratio places majority of these brands at a net loss from shipping costs and advertising spend for a single new customer. A brand in this environment must then fund the following month's advertising budget from future purchases based off lifetime value of a customer. The second order consequence in this lack of data attribution tracking and saturation in common industries during a recession in the US economy from the amount of customers willing to pay for products they see fit as luxury goods during an economic downturn. So what happens is consumer behavior shifts from wanting to own luxury goods to buying products that fulfill basic human needs, food, shelter, and water. So certain industries during a recession ultimately thrive, and this is going to be your healthcare, consumer staples, and in some instances tech. But all in all, as in the D2C space, majority of these ecom brands, if you're in the cosmetic, fitness, personal care, doesn't matter. We're typically selling luxury goods. We're not really fulfilling and helping somebody's immediate needs, as mentioned before, with food, shelter, and water. So how does a recession affect D2C brands? Well, the inverse relationship from a D2C brand to acquire a new customer during periods of economic downturn will reflect significantly higher CAC than ever seen before in the previous 2 years. If a brand doesn't focus on retention strategy as well with the economy in mind for their customers, high return rates will be present for previous repeat buyers. Now, granted, the cohort of an audience varies significantly. Some brands have a really expensive product and their customer base is at more so on the wealthier side. Well, then that is where there's outliers in economic downturn. But if we look at just generalizing everything with the industry, majority of D2C ecom brands will have higher acquisition costs. They're going to have higher churn rates just because of the landscape of the economy. So now, with that being said, D2C brands and retailers operating on a current deficit from initial CAC will face higher risks of falling bankruptcy in between 2023 to 2024, as cash flow will fall into the negatives and profitability will no longer be sustainable within an economic downturn. While startup brands will face more challenges from 2023 to 2024 in regards to finding access channel, validating product market fit at a very maximum, breaking even from initial CAC. So economic downturns are beneficial for brands who've already validated these sectors and are adaptable to change with market demands quickly. As competition in the past years from 2020, 2021 to 2022 have seen somewhat of a fast rate of growth in the e-commerce landscape, 2023 to 2024 will be the period of correction. Brands will, with negative return from CAC, will ultimately look to cut back on advertising spend, leaving other brands with healthy cash flow to dominate the advertising space. So data points from 2020, during somewhat of a declined GDP for Americans prior to the relief bill of the stimulus checks, denoted lower CPCs and lower CPMs across Meta and Google. And as mentioned, you can fact check this. You can go and click these articles I've listed down before. So which company stages are most at risk? Well, net loss, CAC under 1-to-1 ratio. These D2C businesses' failure rates, broadly speaking, within the first 5 years of operation, granted if they make it that far, are the most at risk. As time progresses, the more challenges will arise of validating product market fit, profitable revenue generating access channels, and loyal repeat customers that enables healthy cash flow for brands to pivot during times of economic crisis. So early stage D2C companies likely under 80K a month in total revenue within their first 3 to 4 years of operation stand the greatest risk of failing in the current market. Factors correlating to this likelihood of the companies include not being able to validate and quantify product market fit, the lack of sustainable access channels with profitable CAC, lack of in-house creative system or media buying team to sustain access channel requirements that maintain healthy KPIs, lack of innovation from product line that involve upsells, downsells, and cross-sells. If you have a monthly churn rate of 5% or more from repeat buyers due to the lack of product fit or poor customer retention process or both, majority of these problems are directly correlated to outsourcing all of these businesses' needs to marketing agencies who lack the specialization to offer solutions to each of these points. Now, if a D2C brand was just to rely on outsourcing to marketing agencies in 2023 to 2024 without intent on validating product market fit, seeking access channels to net profitable CAC, and staying away from building internally, the cash flow present from previous years will start to decline as costs will continue to rise year over year in the e-commerce landscape. So agencies are not necessarily at fault here, as they are a decent tool to utilize in the early stages of a D2C brand, sub $1 million a year in revenue, but to survive with rising CAC and greater requirements from customer demands in an economic downturn, maintaining healthy cash flow while scaling from 7 figures per year to 8 figures per year required changes internally. Now, This is a diagram that which I laid out kind of the formula and the roadmap of what typically happens. A brand in the early phase of startup, the first 12 months, every single phase is going to be unprofitable unless you have a really good product and you have somewhat of an access channel to advertise on. Now, the scenarios lie where if you don't fix the product itself or if you don't fix the offer, well, then you're going to be at a deficit. The most successful brands somewhat have one access channel. They have one product. They have product market fit where they're getting at least 100K a month in sales to validate they have product market fit. And then now the game for the brands that profitably exit and scale in 48 months is simply they have initial CAC to a 3-to-1 ratio, which comes into play when you have a really grand slam offer. And then they increase the AOV with upsells, downsells, and cross sells. And then you're releasing new hero products to now upsell to increase the retention rate, right? The outlier where most of these D2C Ecom brands face and most of these owners lie is that they come in, their initial CAC isn't profitable, they have first profit, cut costs, introduce new access channels. There's a lifetime value of a high churn rate, and then there's subpar growth rates because either the offer isn't optimal, the sales funnel isn't optimal, the front end side isn't optimal, and also the retention strategy needs some work. And now where I would say there's a fraction of brands that lie in this when they're trying to start out where they have limited customer data, they don't have an access channel, they don't have LTV, there's not product market fit, and then the founder just, boom, they're in bankruptcy. So now with that being said, in a given timeline across a 48-month period, exponential growth for D2C founders comes after validating product market fit, having an access channel to capture new customers at profitable costs with the surplus of cash flow taken into account. So when it comes to validating access channels, we'll cover that here shortly of how to validate product market fit, how to have that surplus of cash flow on the front end, right? Now, what are the largest profitability leaks that can be fixed in the shortest time period? This is what we call profit velocity. Profit velocity is a profit generated per unit of time for a given product. It takes into account realized revenue, acquisition and support costs with respect to the sales cycle length and rate in which that cash is collected. Where profit velocity, R is the revenue, C is the acquisition costs and support costs, and T is the time. Profit velocity, depending on access channel, cost of goods, cost of fulfillment, and marketing spend, decreases below zero until initial revenue is met from the customer. The trajectory of profit velocity is then increasing until lifetime value is discovered and the customer churns or the customer is cross up or downsold to another product, and a separate profit velocity graph then represents their progress as a customer. So PV can be calculated across different product offerings, customer archetypes for those offerings at any point in a customer subscription. This enables the better mapping of profitability against time within the business as a whole, and the ability to determine where to direct efforts at a given time. So businesses typically don't track profit velocity as accurately as metrics like lifetime value, as the calculations are more complicated and it requires more data insight, which at times is consuming without the right tools. Now, profit velocity broken down below across 4 scenarios. So we have the sales cycle from a cold prospect to a lifetime customer. We have generating profitable CAC from access channels. We have in-house remote team versus outsourcing to agencies. We have upsells, downsells, and cross-sellings. And then we have increasing lifetime value with a new product vertical / optimized offer. So now, in order for us to calculate profit velocity, well, we need to understand what our metrics are from these 4 scenarios, right? Because 9 times out of 10, when working with the outside agency, they're either on a retainer model, they take a percentage of ad spend or whatever some sort of performance agreement typically is set in the industry. And then what happens is most of these brands are looking to work with these agencies they sign, and they don't realize that they're a deficit of a 10K or 20K, and they have to make up the cost from the front end of acquisition, but their unit economics isn't dialed in. And what happens is, well, that's how most of these D2C Ecom brands typically lose money working with these agencies through this partnership. Caveat, there are some scenarios where this works out, but 9 times out of 10, the industry as a whole, the majority of brand owners don't track their metrics to hit profit velocity where they're making money on the front end. Now, the sales cycle from a cold prospect to a lifetime customer goes as follows. We have traffic, doesn't matter whatever the access channel is. An access channel is simply defined as your platform that you utilize to attract the ideal customer profile you want to target to complete a sale. Now, when leads are captured from the access channel, this is where the sales process goes into play, where they click on a creative, they go into the specific funnel. If you send them to a PDP page or if you send them to a landing page, they go through. The ideal prospect learns they want to add to cart. From add to cart, they initiate checkout, and then they complete purchase to become a customer. Now, when it comes to clients and ascending to increase the lifetime value or increase the AOV, this can come into play with customer retention strategies such as back-end email SMS. This come through with offers, community building. Let's say you have a Facebook group or you have some sort of community. You funnel in the cold traffic, and then you put them into a base where they feel like a customer. And when you drop new product releases, or if you have new product verticals, well, then you're able to target your existing customer base to now extrapolate and increase the average order value and increase the LTV of one single customer, right? So as mentioned here, this is the variables dependent on the sales cycle, as consumers from adverts aren't intentional with purchasing from our brand when they first open up a social media platform. We have to take into account this ideology and really understand the sales cycle of these customer archetypes, right? A product priced at $20 has a lower barrier to entry to drive a sale from an average American customer than a product priced at $100, right? This takes into account the sales cycle. Now, 95% of traffic derives from smartphones, Apple, Android, and 5% derived from laptops. A $20 product has an ROI justification to it and a shorter sales cycle the window to buy is literally typically 7 days, right? So this consumer can buy off of impulse. But a product above $100 threshold seamlessly has a longer sales cycle. So somebody who comes across our advert from day one, they don't convert, and they get their paycheck the following week. What happens is, well, the sales cycle has to be longer. The data has to be attributed from a 7-day window to now either a 14 or 28-day window for that single person who clicks. Because as mentioned, somebody who comes across a $100 product, let's say they get paid on Friday the following week, well, then they have to wait for that paycheck to hit before they can make that purchase. Now, the sales cycle is, of course, shorter for products that fit the impulse purchase range. Now, conversion is simply tracked by the frequency / advert divided by the number of visits. So an impulse purchase has a frequency of 2 or less times a prospect needs to come across an advert to be willing to buy from an initial viewpoint without ever having prior knowledge of the brand. Complete purchase is single variable dependent upon pricing. As mentioned, a price point sub $20 has a lower barrier to entry, which causes more people to purchase. A product at a higher price point, longer sales cycle. Now, when it comes to platform targeting, the ratio at which impulse purchase is derived from a solely reliant on the advertising channel itself and the audience demographic. So it depends on our targeting methods to get a sell, right? If we're utilizing Facebook as our premium access channel and we know we have a product that's higher than $150, well, then if we're targeting, depends on the objectives, but if we're targeting somebody on a broader scale and they don't fit our customer demographic, well, then what happens is they're not going to convert. So we need to dial in the audience demographic we're targeting to fit our ideal customer profile. So each platform has a unique formula used to lower CPA and increase AOV. So in this kind of example, I talk about the elements required to scale a certain access channel. Each access channel is different from one another, right? People go on Google to search data points to acquire knowledge on specific topics, and it's mainly an SEO pay-per-click channel. TikTok, as of now, is a content-driven platform that's very short-form based, that the users are more so trying to extract and be entertained constantly. They're not really in the buying position, nor do they log onto a TikTok platform to want to buy something, right? But in this point in time, TikTok has been growing to not only be a search engine, but also to be a platform where it's mainly focused on community building. But Meta is mainly the platform where people go in and they're used to seeing adverts to make a purchase. They're used to logging on and viewing communities. They're used to all these elements that TikTok is slowly growing into. Snapchat is more so a platform for socializing because it has a communication feature where people send pictures to one another. So more so, it's not really as efficient as a TikTok, Meta, or Google, right? But the main theory here, the main thesis is all platforms are not the same. And we have to, if we're advertising on said access channel, well, then our content has to fit whatever we're advertising on. A person who utilizes Google is mainly trying to acquire information about a certain topic as Google is a SEO driven search engine. A person who utilizes YouTube is consuming long form content horizontally based on content creators or information one is trying to see from an individual or groups. A person who utilizes TikTok consumes content very rapidly. A person who utilizes Meta is simply either searching for entertainment, news, community, or catching up with friends, right? Now, this is where the money comes into play. Generating a profitable CAC from the mentioned access channels. So the main factors as a marketer in which we can control are simply the media buying structure. We can control the creatives, we can control the landing pages, we can control the post-click funnel, and on top of that, we can control the offer. Now, the correlation to these specific variables are the customer acquisition costs. The byproduct is the cost to acquire a brand new customer, and also repeat buyers from targeting across mentioned access channels and the average AOV. So the lifetime value of a customer is another metric that needs to be considered prior to media buying decisions. Now let's talk about permutations to variables that lower the CAC. The business equation. Scale Velocity.io and our customers have been able to diagnose problems within the sales funnel by operating underneath these lenses. So the NCPA, the new customer or the new cost per action, is a function of the following variables. D2C businesses typically follow this formula. We have C, where C is the creatives. C is the post-click process, which incorporates your sales funnel in regards to landing pages, PDP pages, and checkout stage. O is the offer. A is the access channel. So the offer is simply adjusted to the specific access channel based off the demographics we're hitting. A is the access channel where the traffic and conversion mechanism used for the product is to mainly get your attention and get the attention from our ideal customer profile who's never heard of us before. And this is the access channel is simply your Google, your Meta, your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok. Now, a COOA, the solution will drive traffic and sales to your product, but the NCPA isn't optimal to produce a profitable ROI. Many brands stick to this model while relying on future purchases from LTV, right? Now, the landscape is if you tweak your creatives, if you tweak your offer, and you try to develop the access channel, you're not evergreen and you're not omnipresent. And what happens is you're going to have different offers across different access channels. You're going to have different archetypes targeting different archetypes, and you're not going to have a real efficient system, which is what I see 9 times out of 10 is these D2C Ecom brands hire different agencies. You have an agency for Google, you have an agency for TikTok, you have an agency for Facebook. What happens is there's no alignment between these different agencies, and they're all just doing different offers, different things, different creatives. Whereas if you were to combine the marketing in-house, you have that North Star, you have that direction to become capital efficient. And now what happens is you can now become omnipresent because more so you're using Facebook as a tool to hit your ideal customer profile that are on the more expensive side. You can use TikTok as a top of funnel cold channel to drive cold people to your website that you wouldn't have gotten cheaper for Facebook. And what happens is you can then retarget those users from Facebook. So you have your TikTok as like a top of funnel sector, you have your Facebook as a retargeting platform, and then you have your Google as also a retargeting platform, and that's how you become omnipresent and you're under one umbrella with an evergreen offer for your top of funnel cold audience. And then as mentioned, using all these other access channels in unison to become capital efficient. Whereas if you have different agencies under different circumstances pushing different levers, well then it's not unison and you're leaving capital on the table because you're not either efficient, and on top of that, your customer base is just hit with different offers and they don't know which one to choose, right? We want to make the decisions for your ideal customers as smooth as possible. So the reason why most D2C brands lack a surplus to cash flow from front-end CAC is not that they don't have product market fit, but lack the optimal steps in the sales funnel process in an order that is catered to a specific access channel requirements for their ideal customer profile per platform. So the sequential events of solving for alpha. Alpha is defined as the cases in having optimal unit economics from a profitable front-end acquisition cost to a reduction in churn rate sub 5%. So the order of events to follow is we need the right foundation. Before anything else, we need to dial in the unit economics. Unit economics is simply defined as your cost of goods, cost to fulfill, making sure that we're profitable on the front-end CAC and we're not at a over-the-top break-even ROAS, or we need to hit metrics. We need to at least have a realistic CPA, as mentioned, from rising acquisition costs. And this can really be just from revamping the offer, creating a grand slam offer, and more so analyzing each access channel and how we want to use these access channels in unison to our benefit. Now, profitable margins for front-end CAC as well as a part of the foundation. Now, when it comes to acquisition in stage 2, you want to focus on creating a grand slam offer that's evergreen for top of funnel cold traffic, and we want to validate the access channels using our 3-stage ad buying system. Now, when it comes to acquisition, it's way easier to have a grand slam offer because you can have a decent creative and you can still get sales and at least validate product market fit. Because really, if you don't have the grand slam offer, well, you can have the best creatives in the world, but you're not going to get any sales. So this is why we do everything in this sequential order. Now, the third stage is native creatives. We want to utilize performance creatives because we want to extrapolate and create variations to now increase the lifetime of each creative we do produce. And on top of that, when it comes to creative tracking, we want to make sure we have the data in place to now make ideations so we know what's working and what's not working. Now, we also want to have a creator relationship management so that we can have a portfolio of creators in-house so that we're not relying on outside vendors. Now, the last stage is optimizing the post-click process. Once you have the right offer, once you have the right creatives, and once you have the right creators working with your brand, what happens is you want to improve the post-click experience with landing pages native to the platform. It's one thing to test creatives, but if you don't optimize the post-click process, then you're leaving money on the table to increase the AOV and lower your cost per acquisition. So now a profitable NCPA is simply a byproduct of having the right offer, creatives, and post-click process for the following access channel. Everything is a matter of events. It's a matter of variables, and I've laid out these variables here. It's far quicker to generate some baseline of sales by focusing on the offer before shifting focus on the creatives and post-click process. Now, crafting a grand slam offer is crucial here. This is a typical value equation that outlines how to create a grand slam offer. A grand slam offer is simply increasing the buying behavior, and we're able to validate the value we provide per product by analyzing what is the dream outcome from ideal customer profile. From this dream outcome, we can now create marketing angles and creatives around it that's going to increase the perceived value. Here we have the plus, so it's dream outcome plus perceived likelihood of achievement, whatever our ideal customer profile wants to achieve, and we want to divide that under the time delay and the effort and sacrifice necessary. Now, when it comes to creating a grand slam offer, we want to create an offer that increases the dream outcome, increases the perceived likelihood of achievement, and we want to delay or we want to minimize the time frame it takes for the dream outcome to occur while also reducing the effort/sacrifice. And this is how we get the value of our product, the value of our brand. Now, when it comes to incentivizing people, we have these variables to play with. We have the scarcity, we have urgency, we have guarantees, we have bonuses, we have also naming conventions. In the following simplified model above, crafting a grand slam offer is simply by creating a higher exchange of perceived value to the prospect for the dollar amount they are willing to pay. Value is extracted by the dream outcome from our ideal customer profile plus perceived likelihood of achievement plus time/effort or sacrifice. Now, the example that's pretty common here is we look at products within this space. We look at the body sculpt product from Amazon. This is a body sculpting machine, cellulite massager, and essentially helps people reduce body fat. It's priced at $69.99 with the perceived value of somebody only having to pay one time in order to get toned abdominal muscles. It is resolved in unwanted belly fat with just a fraction of the time compared to having an individual go on a strict diet, spending hours on the gym, and possibly even not even getting results at all. Now, a grand slam offer applied to the following example would couple this hero product with another product in a bundled package with a guarantee tied to the desired outcome to get the ideal customer profile, toned abs in 6 months or less when you purchase this bundle. Now, the perceived value is so much higher, people are more willing to pay $150, $200 for this bundle because you're sacrificing and you're giving them the perceived value is so much higher because they don't have to go on a strict diet, they don't have to go to the gym, right? And then we couple that with, as mentioned, the guarantee that will get you toned abdominal muscles in 6 months or less with some sort of guarantee where, or we could either do a refund or we can do more so we can get you into our program that's going to help you achieve your desired end result, right? The value here is so much significantly higher because you're helping somebody's weight loss journey with minimizing the stress and the ultimate possibilities of what they lack to do it themselves. Now, the perceived value is so much higher compared to an individual going, as mentioned, on a strict diet. Now, the vicious cycle of price. Most ecom brands look at the market price. They see what everyone else offers. They take the average. They go slightly below the remaining competitive. Now they provide what their competitors offer with a little bit more, and they end up in a value proposition of more for less. And we're competing with everybody else in the market. What happens is if we're trying to undersell our product, our single hero product, by decreasing price, well then the profit margins for us as an ecom founder or a brand goes down. When we decrease our price, our perceived value goes down. If we decrease our price, our profit goes down. Now, if we decrease our price again, the revenue for fulfillment per customer goes down. So now the price to value discrepancy, if we were to increase the price, and if we were to focus on charging higher prices in the marketplace, what happens is the perceived value goes up, the results go up, the profitability for us goes up, and the revenue for fulfillment per customer goes up. I see too many founders focus on playing the pricing game as low as possible. What happens is, as mentioned before, your perceived value goes down. Now, if you look at pricing and you keep lowering your prices, the only way you can go is zero, right? But if you go the opposite direction and now focus on raising your prices as high as possible while still getting purchases through the door, you have more profit margin to work with. And this is where it comes into play, where it's important for us to dial in the unit economics. So the goal simply is be so much more expensive than that a consumer must pause and think that this cannot be the same category solution as everyone else, thereby making your category of one. And as mentioned before, right, if we have our main hero product priced at $150, $200, and this is mainly for the middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, what happens is now you can have a separate hero product that's on a lower scale to now acquire people through the door as cheap as possible, but you're still profitable. And then your upsell ties into your main hero product as a bundle package. Well, then your profit margins go through the roof because this is your main upsell. It's like a Trojan Horse methodology. And with this Trojan Horse methodology, you're giving more people products, or you're giving more customers products to work with. Now they're going to trust your brand significantly higher. And then when you now release or launch a separate hero product as a downsell or upsell, what happens is, well, then you reduce your churn rate. And one customer can go from 1-to-1 to now the value from a single brand new customer can be 5-to-1 because they're buying from your company in a given 12-month time frame. They're buying 5 times out of the year. So now initial cost for a customer can now be, it costs you $30 to acquire a customer, it costs you $50 or $80 to acquire a customer, but now they're buying from your company and they're worth $500 for you. So now your unit economics is dialed in because you're profitable from the front end, you're profitable on the lifetime value, and you extrapolate and now you extend the life cycle of a client to now reduce the churn rate. Notes, if you have a product where a customer must perform some action to be successful, then it would follow. The more invested they are, the more invested they'll be, which in turn will create better students and better outcomes. Similar to a supplement space. People are selling weight loss or they're selling something, but if you couple them into a program where your program is charged, your price at $99, but you have the supplements to go with it, your perceived value goes through the roof because you're getting somebody's end journey, which is they want abdominal muscles, and you're reducing the time and sacrifice it takes to get there, but your perceived value is significantly higher. Now let's talk about bonuses. Human psychology is one of the most important angles we need to be able to tackle as marketers. No matter what product we're selling, this is directly correlated to the offer and the perceived value of the product/brand. Example, you pay $39 for a bundle of 28 knives with free shipping, which is inferior to the following offer. Pay for one knife at $39.99 and get another 27 knives for free today for only the next 24 hours. It's all in the way you angle your offer. We don't want to be charging. We don't want to do a 10% off discount. We don't want to be doing free shipping as well. Everybody in the space is doing free shipping. Everybody else in the space is giving customers 10% off, 20% off, right? People are numb to it. The perceived value with giving free stuff is significantly higher. For example, free shipping plus, or giving a product away for free, but all the customer has to do is pay for shipping, right? That psychological benefit significantly increases the perceived value from what we're selling. So it's very important that we create these mechanisms that's going to increase the psychological effects of somebody wanting to buy from us while creating a unique offer that's different from the marketplace, right? Free stuff is always the route to go because people are like, okay, they're more willing to now buy because they're able to capture and give their ticket in to get additional free stuff when they were only coming for one product. And that's why, as I mentioned, pay $39 for a bundle of 28 knives with free shipping is inferior to the following: pay for one knife and get at $39 and get another 27 knives for free today, right? Now let's talk about bonuses and bullets. Always offer bonuses to the offer. Very rare people will purchase one single product anymore, depending on the niche. Give the bonus a special name that has a benefit in the title. The marketing message needs to be around how it relates to the issue. What will the product do for the customer? How will it significantly improve their lives or make their experience faster, easier, or less effort/sacrifice? And we want to provide some sort of proof that this can be a stat, or if this is a testimonial or reviews, we can typically lock that in the post-click process. And we want to paint a vivid image of what their life will be like, assuming they already used it and they're experiencing benefits. We want to always ascribe a price tag to it and justify it. And on top of that, we want to have tools and checklists as for additional trainings or whatever you're selling that kind of aids the help for somebody to achieve their desired end result. Now, you should address each specific concern, obstacle in the customer's mind about why they can't or won't be successful. Bonuses should prove their belief incorrect. And this can also be why you would logically realize they will need next. You want to solve their next problem before they even encounter it, right? And this all comes down to the perceived value. And we want to solve as many objections as possible to now reduce friction in the sales cycle. Now let's talk about guarantees. Apart from bonuses and offer stacking, guarantees are another level or another lever to pull that will instantly improve unit economics by raising the perceived value from a cold prospect clicking on the advert. Here's how to make your offer irresistible by reversing risk. We have unconditional guarantees. We have conditional guarantees. The bolder the guarantee, the wider separation from your customers. Your offer may not actually be making money because it's too risky for your prospect to buy and they don't think it'll work for them. This is where unconditional guarantees equal reverse risk. It has no conditions when cash in on the guarantee/refund guarantee, no questions asked, unconditional. So as mentioned, an unconditional guarantee has no timeline in which somebody can ask for a refund. But the great thing is, like what I've noticed in the past working with a bunch of companies, is that if your product's really good and it's really efficient and you have a refund guarantee in place to kind of secure the customer, you actually reduce the amount of risk when it comes to getting the refunds. Like it's really a calculated risk. You have to look at your current refund rate, and if it's sub 5%, well then you can ultimately increase this, because what happens is your buying behavior goes up, and the ratio in which the refund policy or the refund risk comes into play, it might be the same ratio, and you're making more money and you have the same number of refunds and you're not really losing money, you're increasing your money value. So in this example here, let's say we have 100 sales and we get 5 refunds per this 100 sell. We have 95% net sales. And let's say we have the guarantee offer. We do offer an unconditional guarantee. We have 130 sales. We have 13 refunds. We have a higher refund rate, but the thing is we have more net sales. So if we look at 117 divided by 95, we see an increase of 1.3x, which is a 23% increase in total sales just by coupling this refund guarantee in place. And we're not losing money, but we're making more money. Marketing angles are simple. Try a product today, and if you don't like it, we'll give you a refund, no questions asked, right? Refunds are really, really strong because it reduces the friction for a brand new customer to become and log into your ecosystem. Now, conditional guarantees: if you don't achieve X in Y time, we will. Conditionals are by a plan of action, and you can do outsized refunds by 2 to 3x. If you don't get results from a product, we'll refund you 2 to 3x what you paid for. There's also a credit-based guarantee you can run. If you don't get results from a product within 90 days, we'll credit you or what you paid for to try out other products, right? You're keeping them into your ecosystem. The thing is, offers are so important, and if you have the right offer, you're going to get sales to come through no matter what, no matter how efficient your creatives are, no matter how efficient your post-click process is. The offer is the North Star, and once you have the right offer in place, your sales are going to go through the roof. Now, the next step is, dialing in the access channel, dialing in the creatives. So this is for solving for lower CPM, CPCs, and CPAs with native creatives. While crafting a Grand Slam offer is always ideal because the byproduct is the buying behavior from cold audience, The secondary factors to maintaining results at scale are the creatives. The paradigm from creatives to the offer are inverse. The better the offer, the more you can get by with average creatives. The better the creatives, the buying behavior is still severely affected by how good the offer is to the audience. So as mentioned, the offer is by far the most important variable to solve for profitable CAC, but the ability to scale is solely dependent on how native the creatives are to the following access channel. In order to get results from the access channel, we must take a step back and look at the structure in which these following companies define their North Star. So the advertising landscape has grown significantly in the past 5 years, and depending on the industry, there are far more advertising competitors niche than ever before. Facebook, Snapchat, Google, and TikTok's main focus is to get users to stay on the platform as long as possible. The algorithms are made in a way that's going to disperse relevant content to the end user so they never leave the platform. Advertising dollars are simply following D2C businesses to skip the line to show content to the ideal customer profile. There are 3 parties involved in this relationship when it comes to advertising. We have the end user utilizing each platform. We have the access channel providing relevant content to improve the end user's experience. We have the entity using the access channel to show their campaigns to the ideal customer profile. So the relationship a D2C Ecom brand has with these following access channels is severely different from the end user. Facebook doesn't need your money. TikTok doesn't need your money. Google doesn't need your money because there's so much other advertisers targeting the same demographic, right? So in order for us to be successful with our ad campaigns, we have to understand that our content must be tailored for the end user and focus on increasing the end user's experience. These access channels are constantly giving us direct feedback on where they rank your creatives based on CPC, CPMs, and CTRs, right? The higher your CPM, that is the platform telling you that your content isn't suited for your ideal customer profile or whoever you're targeting. Therefore, your CPCs are going to be more expensive to get somebody to land and click onto your landing page or your post-click process. And that's relevant to the click-through rate. The lower your click-through rate, the less likely it's more expensive for you to pay for eyes to click on your post-click process. And that doesn't even convert a sale. So in order for us to maintain efficiency at scale and creating content that is native to a platform, it's by far the easiest way to achieve success from advertising. And that's really just dialing your creatives to fit the advertising channel we're operating on, right? TikTok is a short form based platform. Advertising content must utilize native fonts, trending sounds, eye-catching scene changes to rank higher on the algorithm. Facebook's a community-based platform. There's more freedom when it comes to advertising as content can contain static images, GIFs, longer formatted videos. Google is a search-based engine platform. Keywords, compelling copy are the main levers to rank higher from PPC ads with unique images to get a prospect to learn more. The focal point around performance creatives. With advertising dollars, companies are simply acquiring data from their ideal customer profile. The creative system to generate consistent results must reflect these data points and overall tracking of what has been tested from previous hypotheses. Performance creatives is simply defined as measuring each data point within a 25-second video and comparing specific B-roll segments to the end CPA. And this is why you need to segment your creative step by step by step. A single video is outlined to have 8 overall segments within the storyline: a hook, a problem, a failed solution, introduction of product, features, unique selling points, demonstration of the product in action, desired end result, call to action, following the modular framework. Now, the briefing process is by far the most important, as if you're working with creators, they're somewhat considered a commodity. How high quality your content is solely dependent on how good and how detailed your creative brief is. Because at the end of the day, our content must be tailored in a way that suits the needs of whatever we're advertising on, but also we're focusing on getting a sale. The outline structure gives the creators clear expectations and a scene-by-scene breakdown of what's expected and recreating content as designed for conversions from the end user. Guiding creators to shoot scene-by-scene, tailoring B-roll footage to be no longer than 3 seconds allows the formula for variations to come into place. Now, when it comes to variations from testable ads, when you get a bunch of B-roll footage, you can now take one unique concept and turn that into 12 testable ads, which allows you to have more freedom and more insight on how your content interacts with the ideal customer profile you're targeting. Here are the following variables that can be split tested. You can split test the timeline, taking a 30-second clip and making it reducing to an 18-second clip. You can have the hooks, split testing various hooks that can really expand the lifeline of a creative, which makes it an evergreen creative. You can have the structure of content and repurpose the layout. You can use voiceovers, or you can use AI tech to shoot said voiceovers. Simply by revamping the way content is developed from the performant creative approach, ideas can be interchanged to validate the best subclips and permutations to get the end user to complete a purchase. Lastly, the most important thing is tracking the learnings from tested clips. Permutations and analysis is by far the most important skill and practice that needs to be integrated not only from your creative team, but also from your media buying department of any D2C Ecom business. Depending on the access channel, columns can be reorganized to address the data points accumulated from the formation of each ad creative from the overall performance of the sales funnel to creative performance by displaying the 2-second video view rate all the way to percent of users who stay to view the entirety of the content. So the organization of the following data points can be tracked by the overall structure of the campaign layout inside of the ad account to have a robust structure just by leveraging Google Sheets. We want to extrapolate data from the status, the desire, the ad concept, the description, the hooks, the ad data results from what we tested. And this sheet here is what we utilize on a day-to-day to track this. Now, the direct correlation to media buying principles. Gathering data and organizing and correlating in sheets is one element of efficiency, but restructuring campaigns to reflect the following data will yield a higher ROI as decisions can be made more efficiently. And a simple structure when it comes to your campaigns can lay out this. So for us, we operate and delegate our campaigns to follow this structure where we have the campaign objective, we have the stage number it's on, we have whatever creative angle we're testing so that we can make decisions faster from a media buying approach. And here we follow this 3-stage media buying process. Stage 1, which is audience testing. Stage 2, which is creative testing. Stage 3, which is, okay, we're scaling our winners from the previous data points. Now, let's dive into how we analyze data to make and scale campaigns. I mean, there's really no right or wrong when it comes to ad buying, but naming conventions will allow diagnosis of data to be completed much more efficiently. So with the current ad buying strategy, it's simplified into 3 steps. You have your audience testing, which is keeping the ad concept the same while split testing hooks, time, links with variations. You have your split testing against broad, suggested, targeting, and even stacked interests. You have your creative testing where you're validating each individual creative one by one. And then you have your scaling of previous winners from stage 1 to stage 2, where you're increasing ad spend budget by 3 to 5x on daily spend. You're horizontally scaling, reintroducing audiences to winning creatives, and you're setting cost caps after a stable CPA is present. Now, these are typical stages in the ad account to have a bulletproof system. You're going to test audiences, you're going to test creatives, and then ultimately you're going to test offer at scale. So now the caveat is each access channel is significantly different, and there are relatively different strategies that can be applied across these channels and these processes, right? Now we focus on validating audience, creatives, and offer at scale, but more importantly, the money is made in ideations. Organizing data accordingly so there can be different ideations of what's already working sets the path towards a North Star for every brand. To reach capital efficiency without tracking previous learnings, you have essentially burned money. Now, validating the creatives, validating the ad buying strategy, validating the audience will now yield the next step, which is optimizing the post-click experience, increasing buyer behavior. So these are step-by-step fragmentations that you need to take if you want to reach capital efficiency. As much ideation is going into the creative process following the modular framework, segmenting B-roll clips step by step, split testing evergreen offers for cold traffic, optimizing the post-click experience, the most important levers that you can yield the highest ROI. A typical sub-7-figure brand sends traffic to a product detail page with the main hero product without a checkout button and a various social proof layered at the bottom. And this example is typically like one of our clients had this process. Now, while the following example is decent, the results in overall CPA may yield close to a front end, maybe a profitable front end acquisition. The following PDP page isn't optimal to break through to reach a 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 return. Because the thing is, we're in a highly competitive space. Every single brand has a PDP page, right? This is a game of inches. We can't be decent. We have to be excellent. So while the performance creatives are made in a formula that is to stop the end user to stop scrolling, to educate them on how the product is needed benefit for their lives, sending cold traffic to the PDP page will not get them to convert. The analogy is similar to going on a first date, asking the other person into marriage after 15 minutes. The post-click experience must have the same process as the creatives. It must hook the end user to stay on the lander. It must keep the end user intrigued to learn more about the product by displaying similar UGC from add-on to the post-click process. Congruency builds trust here. We must share social proof of the reviews, testimonials of previous customers. We must have a compelling CTA with a no-brainer offer, similar to this structure right here. This gets people to stop scrolling. They see the engagement. There's social proof here. There's ideally the same UGC that came from the advert. It has animations to keep people intrigued, and we're educating people first before they buy. Whereas typical PDP pages, you're trying to get somebody to buy before you educate them, right? It has to be the inverse to get somebody to now want to buy and increase the buying behavior. So the following landing page represented above focuses on hooking the end user into the brand's hero product by displaying features, benefits, social proof, UGC, and much more. From this implementation, we've seen conversion rate for our client time from 2.3% to 8% just from access channels. So landing pages are oftentimes neglected, but the attention to detail is what separates next level brands to those who are stagnant and can't break through certain thresholds. Now let's talk about the sweet stuff. Building in-house for a profitable exit. The paradigm shift for a D2C founder needs to have embedded into their operations if they want to profitably exit their company in the next 2 to 3 years. Is simply no longer relying on outsourcing the growth engine to outside vendors. Mergers and acquisition when it comes to acquiring D2C companies value these metrics. Having a profitable front-end CAC, reducing churn by 5%, having positive cash flow, operations in-house, CEO, CMO, and team members with clear roles. Why agencies are the Achilles heels to D2C brands. The landscape of an agency to grow their own business simply relies on acquiring deals with more brands month over month. While an agency can have anywhere from 3 to 100 plus team members, the experts who have experience are only working on larger ad accounts at 500K a month in ad spend. If you're a small brand sub 100K a month in ad spend, your account gets handed to a junior media buyer with limited experience on what to actually fix in order to get results for your brand. A founder is simply putting their trust into an individual who isn't highly qualified or trained to grow their company. Not all agencies are bad, but the majority are, as the attention is split across just more than 5 clients plus a month over month. Similar to how B2B companies do not outsource their sales team to some other company in a similar pathway, majority of D2C founders need to take when it comes to breaking 50K a month in sales. There's a place for agencies, and if a founder were to work with an agency, the vetting process must be very thorough to put your business in the best position to succeed. And you must vet your agencies that you do work with by asking questions in regards to previous history, validating testimonials, asking for current case studies, question the team size. You ideally want to work with a lean boutique team that's invested into your brand, invested into your growth, and not splitting focus across multiple other companies. Finding an excellent agency is tough and comes somewhat with a hefty price tag, but to ultimately hit escape velocity and have full control of your company's success, building in-house should always be the North Star if you're looking for a profitable exit. The protocol for a profitable exit. The foundations for an in-house team isn't greater than 6 team members aligned under the same goal and identity. You ideally need a growth consultant or a chief marketing officer who analyzes the sales funnel, creates such, validates offers, manages adverts at the high level. You need 1 to 2 full stack media buyers that have knowledge of Facebook, TikTok, and Google. You need a creative coordinator responsible for sourcing, vetting, and negotiating deals with content creators. You need an editor who is trained to create content native to the advertising channels. This person is ideally consuming content on TikTok, Facebook. You need a creative strategist responsible for writing creative briefs for content creators. You need a copywriter/email specialist who focuses on retention by compelling copy in email and SMS. This team of 6 is all that's needed to not only have your creative system in place to pump out 100 plus testable ads every single month, but also the bandwidth to take your ecom brand to the next level. So the systematic approach is organized and calculated with software tools such as ClickUp for tracking creators/setting deadlines, Motion to understand the performance of creatives at the creative level, and also you need third-party attribution tracking such as TripleWell or Northbeam to validate said data. Now this is the essential protocol. The first 3 to 4 weeks, you want to dial in your unit economics. You want to build marketing assets, creatives, landing pages, offers for hero products. You want to have the access channel validated, / you want to optimize your sales funnel. Here, you want to have the creatives. You want to be producing profitable CPC, CPMs, and objectives at the KPI. You want your conversion rate above 5%. You want to be split testing offers to increase AOV and net margin. You need a surplus of cash flow on the front end. You need to expand into other access channels at scale. Then this is where you can build in-house, where you have your marketing team and creative team, where you have hiring SOPs in place, you have foundations in place, you have the ClickUp integration in place, you have the in-house creator database in place, you have KPI tracking. Once you're at this point in time, which is now you just make iterations on the funnel, you scale your access channel, you focus on customer relationship management where you're optimizing email and SMS, you're implementing information from post-purchase surveys, you build a loyal user community and resources, you're raising capital to fuel further growth, you expand into new markets, and now you're able to enter exit discussions because you have your own in-house team. So the in-house foundation, systemizing valuable assets with a clear roadmap defined by the founder and the team, set the alignment path for the company's growth. Hiring team members follow the same methodologies by a 5-step onboarding process, from watching the VSL, filling out the application, solo/group interviews, onboarding, and then a probation period. And as mentioned, you can pull talent from network, social media, job boards, paid media, recruiters, hiring, and then you send them to a hiring VSL. They must fill out the application. Now you get them on an interview, you onboard them, and then from there, there's a probation period. The more senior the position you're hiring for within the team, the more time, money you can expect to spend on the hiring process. The most effective channels for sourcing applicants is ascending order of price are network and social media, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, Instagram, colleagues, job boards, LinkedIn Jobs, Indeed, paid media, and then recruiters. It's essential to validate the unit case economics of hiring across multiple channels, not just taking into account initial hiring costs, but also the rep probation pass rate and performance. This is both a quantitative and qualitative assessment. Businesses can source 10 plus entry-level creative/media buying positions per month via the first 2 channels through basic hiring posts without spending any money. These should detail short company background, who the role is for/who fits that role, activities and expectations, on-track earnings, a link to a minimum of an application form, but a hiring VSL for optimal outcome. If tight for budget, this can be a good route to onboard team reps. However, typically these reps will have less experience, and team leaders will be required to dedicate more time to training. Businesses will experience greater difficulty finding said reps, media buyers, creative, and specialists, because the more experienced reps go through paid side rather than free channels. So how can you improve the hiring outcomes? Simply by introducing budget to the first 2 channels can increase in both number of quality of applicants, lending to better suited hires that ramp up to perform at the higher level. If a business has sufficient budget, $20 to $40 a day max for 2 weeks, $300 to $600 in total for the minimum recommended approach. In this case, you have job boards, LinkedIn. You can now get people to fill out the application form. And then introducing a budget isn't always required, but with multiple founders, you have larger audiences, various social media platforms, to an extent that you're able to drive large numbers of applicants to the hiring VSL and application organically, right? These are just overall the high-level stuff that any founder can do to now build in-house. Now, how to ramp up media buyer/creative team. You want to record all your trainings, and with the first rep on board via Loom or any other recording software, this will form the basis of ramping material in early stages. All important areas are not covered in the first trainings, will be created later on, and you want to have a pre-planned roadmap. Now, ramping up trainings must include product, lead generation, KPIs, prospecting walkthroughs, sales assets, recordings, reviews, rep progression, company context, background, and vision. The hiring expectations are, out of every 10 media buyers, you're going to have 1 superstar. You want to prioritize nurturing them above the rest and only keeping the reps that perform the best. You want to have 2-week trial periods, right? There's a lot of processes in place to now validate CMOs, senior managers, so on and so forth. So you have 2 options here. You can apply the principles documented across all of this. You can try to do this by yourself, and you might achieve some small yet tangible gains, but you might get a sense of false security because, as mentioned, this is a whole different ball game that you have to follow in order to see success and reach capital efficiency. Now, you can discover this and ultimately reach and be unable to reach efficiency levels that enables you to grow these systems profitably and remain in a state of stagnant to negative growth via poor acquisition and or customer retention, because you're a founder carrying multiple hats. You can now work with us, me and my team, who understand this in depth with capital efficiency drivers that enable us to grow businesses, in which this is what we specialize in. You can work with us, in which will help you build profitably. We'll build scalable systems that enable you to grow and maintain new revenue acquired in spite of poor market economics, shifting the expected outcome from running out of money to now an exit that's high revenue multiple. If you found this process useful and it makes sense to see if we can help with profitability, long-term growth, please schedule a call and talk directly with me or one of my team members, and we'll walk you through the protocol we've built out, mapped out more in depth apart from this white paper. So I hope you enjoyed this whole context. As mentioned, you can now read the PDF down below, but please schedule a call if you're looking for a profitable exit in the next 2 to 3 years and you want to build to capital efficiency.